Good morning. My name is Lennox Roberts, and today I'm going to demonstrate SMB NMB. And what that is really is file sharing. So I'm going to set up file sharing on CentOS 9, which I have installed on this tab. And we're going to access that shared folder from a Windows operating system. I'm using Windows 11. So we're going to get right into it and set up SMB, file sharing, adding users, setting permissions, and then accessing that from the Windows based client. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is install Samba. So I'm going to do a yum install. So yum install dash y. So it'll default everything to yes. Samba, and we want the latest version on all of the updates. So instead of just hitting enter, I'm going to do an asterisk and then enter. All right, so if this error comes up, it's simply because I am using an account that does not have the full rights of an administrator, as it were. So I'm going to switch accounts first. So SU to root, enter my password. All right, so now I'm in the root. So if you notice up here, it says L Roberts, and that's the local user. But now I'm in the root user. All right, and you can always test this out by checking who am I, and you will see that they plainly say that you are now the root. All right, so let's clear this up, and let's do our yum install again. Default stay yes, Samba and asterisk, enter. And here you can now start to see all of the configurations taking place until it's complete. So we're just going to let this run. Depending on how fast the internet is, this could be a quick process. All right. So we wait. So they're getting the app, the extra packages. It's continuing. It's defaulting to yes. So it's just going to run through the entire install. It's going to do its own cleanup and all of that. So we hold on. All right. So they're still running. It's almost finished. You'd see upgrading, installing, see cleaning, and so on. So when it reaches here, just hold on a little bit, right? This package is a little big. Just give it a moment or so. All right, there we go. So it's doing its cleanup. It's running the scriptlet, verifying, complete, and it's done. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to push up on the keyboard to the same yum install again, and you'd realize that they're going to tell me nothing else to do. It's complete because they have gotten all of the packages and stuff installed. And now that we have all of the packages installed, the next step here is that we're going to go to our Windows machine. And on our Windows machine, we just want to check to see what domain or work group the Windows operating system is connected to. So to do this, I'm going to go into command prompt. All right, great. And I'm just going to type net config workstation. All right. So that will give us the computer name and a lot of different information. But we're not looking at the computer name, which is NT Windows 11. We're looking to see what domain or workstation this is connected to right now. And it's connected to work group. And you're going to see why this is important as we go along. All right. So we've confirmed work group. So that's it for this. We're going to leave this here for a bit. And we're going to go back to CentOS here. And in CentOS, the next step for us is to check out the configuration file for SMB, but we don't want to edit the original file. So I'm going to create a copy of that file and then edit the new version of that file. All right, so let's clear off all of this. And let's create a copy of that default config file. All right, so cp/etc/samba. Yes. All right. Yeah. So there we have our original file, and let's create the copy of this. etc. So the same name, but we're adding on a dot. Let's say default. All right, enter. Nice. So next we want to take a look at making directories and organizing the user permissions for those directories. So let's clear this out. So let's make a directory. So mkdir -p, let's do svr slash, and we're going to create a directory for Steve. Yeah, enter. All right, let's see what happened there. All right, so mkdir-p svr SMB Samba Steve. Um, mkdir. Okay, so what happened here is I didn't put a space between this. All right, like I did here. So that was the error. Okay, good. So we have that. Let's move on to ch -r. So those pieces are really important. All right, so we're working on the directory creation as well as the user rights and so on. Okay, so what did I type? I really have this typing thing. Let's see. So chmod 50755 SRV. Let's see this again. Okay, so ch dash r. Okay, so I think I see what's going on here. So in this command here, I typed this wrong. So they're looking for a directory that does not exist, so they can't apply the permissions. So let me just recap here. So make directory srv. Oh, I did the same space issue. So there we go. Nice. So make directory -p /srv, not svr. All right. Now I'm just going to push up again for them to make the directory. So this should work now. Great. So we have the directory, we have the permissions. Let's just take a look at what we have here. So ls dash ldz slash srv Samba and Steve. Nice. So what they have here now is that they're showing us the contents within. That's why we have ls. And you notice that they have var underscore t. And what we're creating here is not a var underscore t, but a share. So we're going to change this so it says share. So let's do that one time. And to do this, we have to go into the configuration file. And remember before, when we went across to Windows, I would have shown you in the Windows area, the work group and so on. And this is why this was important, because now we have to go into the configuration files for Samba to see how Samba is connected and then ensure that they're both on the same work group. All right. So let's get into the configuration file now and take a look at how this is set up. All right. So right before we do the share, so we change this to share. Let's I realized I didn't add the permissions. I have the directory. So let's just do the permissions and then get into the configuration file. So we're going to do permissions chmod dash um, 0 SRV, not SVR. All right, Sambo slash Steve. Let's make sure we have that right. So ch mod dash r 0755 SRV Sambo Steve. Yeah, great. Now I'm just going to push on the up arrow to get back into just showing you that ls command that we just did. All right. So again, we're going to change this var t to a share t so that we're understanding that we're sharing a directory to the Windows client. All right, or generally sharing. So let's get into the config file. So to get into the configuration file, all right, we want to take a look at vim etc etc sample smb.conf. All right, and when I hit enter, that takes us into the configuration backend. All right. So here we're going to adjust some settings. Like for example, if you notice, work group is set to Sambo. And again, we looked at Windows and it really should be set to the same thing, which is work group. All right. So we're going to change a few configuration settings within here and then go back out and then test it to make sure it works. And then we go to the Windows client and then see if we have access to that shared folder and so on. So right before we get into the configuration, let's go back out and let me do that that change in name so we could show the share in directory. So let me do shift colon. I'm not going to save any changes here, so I'm just going to do Q exclamation mark. We're back out. Let's just change that var underscore t to a share samba t file so that we're sharing the directory when it comes up into Microsoft Windows 11. All right, so we're doing ls dash ld capital Z dash srv slash sambo Steve. All right, and again we're seeing the var underscore share t. So let's fix that as I indicated before. So we're gonna do chcon dash common t sambo underscore share underscore t space slash srv slash sambo slash Steve. All right, and then I'm just going to use the up arrow to get back into our ls command, just so you see that we are now seeing the change here. So opposed to var, just highlight instead of vart, we now have our sambo, our sambo share t. All right. Let's get back into our configuration file to make some changes. So I'm just going to use the up arrow to get back in, and then we get into making changes. Okay, so let's get into making some of these changes. We're going to hit insert on the keyboard first so we could actually type in the config file. And then let's start off with the work group. So let's change this here to the same as the Windows. So we're going to type all right, work group. Then we're just going to add a label. All right, it has no functionality. It's just a label, right? So we're going to do server string equal Samba server. We'll do a percent with V. All right. We leave the security as is. User. For anything that we're not going to use, we'll hashtag it, right? So, for example, I'm not going to be using this password for the database. I'm just going to hashtag that out, right? Let's come back here. So security, we're gonna keep that as user. That's just a to map to guest. Let's do equal a bad user. Okay, we'll do this now. Bad user. I'm not using any DNS right now, so no DNS. No. All right. Um, we can leave these things not budding. All right. So under homes, I'm just gonna come down a little bit so we have some space. All right. So under homes, we're going to keep the home directories. Let me see. We're gonna leave defaulted users. Browsable. We're gonna say no. Read only. No inherit. All right, because we want it. Um, we don't want it to be read only. We want it to be browsable. All right. Printers. Let's see. I'm gonna keep. Yeah, I'm gonna keep all printers. I'm gonna keep the party same. Printer, printable. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. All right. So for the prints, print driver, sample. Yep, direct. We're gonna keep this. So we're gonna use the print domain. Right. Right. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is we've been creating the shared directory for Steve and so on. So let's create. Sorry, let's create the information for the configuration. Sorry, for Steve. All right. So open brackets, square brackets. Right. So we're gonna do this for Steve. And let's do a path equal /s rv. Keep thinking SVRS. Samba Steve. Yeah. Browsable. Yes. Writable. Yes. Guest. Okay. Yes. Nope. We want them to actually have an account to log in, right? Read only. No. All right, and that's it. So we have Steve set up. So for every user that we create, um, we'd have to create a path, a browsable, writable, guest OK, and read only. There's some other configurations, but these are the baseline that we need right now. So we're going to come out of this safely. So I'm hitting escape. I'm doing shift colon WQ lowercase, and I'm hitting enter. All right, I'm just going to go back in so you could see that the settings have been successfully saved. All right, so Steve and everybody there will group and so on, right? So we're going to come out of this without saving any changes. So shift colon common Q exclamation mark enter. All right, and we just want to test if this is working so far. So if you notice, so let me just go back in quickly here. You would see at the top here, they had that if you want to test, you could have typed this here. So you can run test farm to verify that the config is correct after you've modified it, right? So let me come out of this. All right, so let's just do a quick test to see if it's working, and how to see that it's going to be print. How to see it, if it's working, it's going to print out on the screen, right? So test p. All right, and here is everybody. Steve. All right, all work group. All right, everything seems to be good. All right. So, um, so we're looking good. So the next step here is we want to create the user Steve and give him a password and so on. So let's clear this out. To create a user, Steve, we're gonna go to US user add. I'm gonna add Steve. All right. We're gonna do a password for Steve. All right. Password 123. Type it again. WRD 123. All right, good. So that was successful. Now let's do. So there's an account for Steve on the CentOS. Now let's do. Let's enable him on SMB. So let's do SMB WD. Yeah. Um, dash a Steve. We're gonna give him the same password. PASSWORD 123. Retype PASSWORD 123. All right, and we have Steve. You can see here. Added user Steve. And then from there, you don't always have to do it, but it's a good practice to enable the account for Steve on Samba. All right. So we want to enable Steve's account on Samba. So it's created, but we just want to enable it. So we want to do to enable Steve's, we'll do SMB plus WD dash E for enable and Steve. All right, and we've just enabled the account for user Steve. So he's added to the local um, logon, which is on CentOS. He's also added to the SMB, all right, for the shared file, and we've also enabled Steve as the local user. And in my command list, I'm just going to go up here so you could see we're going to pull back up all the users now, and we now should be seeing Steve as a user. So in addition to Linux that you were saying before, you now have Steve, he has a home directory and so on. So let's clear this out. And now we're going to start the services for SMB and NMB. So system, SDM, CTL, start Samba, which would be SMB dot service. So let's start the service. Let's enable the service. And also let us start the NMB service. Let's enable the NMB service. Well, this one. Nice. Now let's check the status of the SMB service. All right, and you can see it's enabled and it's also active, meaning it's running. So let's also check the NMB service now. And that as well is enabled and it's active. All right. So from here, we want to take a look at the firewall settings. So we're almost finished, but let's take a look at the firewall settings and then enable or make exceptions in the firewall. Okay, so let's clear this out. Now, for the firewall, what's happening there? Okay, we got a malfunction. All right. So for the firewall settings, there are about over 20 firewall commands. So I'm not going to type all out in CentOS. What I did, I put it in a text file already. So here we have the firewall commands. Now you can type them out one by one if you want, but I am just going to select all of these commands here. Right click, copy, move this out of the way, and I'm going to paste those settings here. So I'm right clicking, paste, So I have all of the commands here, and then I am simply going to hit enter. All right, I may have enabled one or two already, so you may see those showing up. So there you go. So all were a success. The two in red, it's okay because it's already enabled, So we're good with the firewall settings. Now, it's important to remember that after you finish um, setting up the firewall, you want to reload the firewall. So I'm just going to use my up arrow here, get the command, just backspace a bit here, and I want to reload the firewall settings. All right, and as you can see, that was a success. So all of our firewalls are up and running, it's enabled, and I have successfully reloaded the firewall. Okay, so let's start our final phase here, which is the testing. So let's start off with an if config. So we just want to double check the IP address, which I have here, which is 192.168.193.128. So if you look right here, you're going to see that IP address. All right. So on the Windows side now, I'm going to click on run. All right, it's freezing up just a little bit. So I would have typed this in already previously. So when I click on OK, they should be asking me for a username and password, and that is correct. So we're going to put in Steve. I'm going to put an incorrect password, right? 1, 2, 3, and that should not go through. So let me just click OK. Right, so that came back up saying that the username or password is incorrect. So now let's type the correct password for Steve. So it's PASSWORD 123, and then we click OK. That should give us access to the shared folder. Nice. So we're seeing the shared folder, Steve. If we go to the shared folder and we double click on the shared folder, it should be empty because there's nothing in Steve at this moment. So let's go back to CentOS. And I want you to see that when I do a ls command for Steve, it's empty. All right, so we want to create a text file. So let's do touch test dot txt. All right, and let's go into that file. So I'll just do a up arrow. And let's do vi. And let's type, hey, I got it to work. All right, escape. Let's do a colon WQ. All right, and let's also do a ls again just to see that the file is in there. So you're going to see that they do have test.txt, and I'll do another one right away. Just do both one time. So let's do the calendar for this month. So let's do cal. So calendar for October 2025, calendar.txt. All right, and let's go into that file by just doing vi calendar.text. And here we have a calendar for the month of October. Let's come out of this. We're not saving anything, so Q exclamation. All right, let's just do another ls command just to see that we have two files there. We have both calendar.txt and test.txt. So in the Windows area now, let me just refresh and see if it comes up. Sometimes it takes a little while. So let's close this off, come back to it, see if that does anything or if we need to wait a little bit. All right, so we need to wait a little bit here, right? So let's wait a little bit and we will see it coming up. All right, so it finally came up. So it just takes a while. So you have to keep refreshing, sometimes close off the window, open it back. All right, so let's look at test first. All right, got it to work. And then let's close this off And let's open the calendar. And here is our calendar, nice and perfect. So we have SMB and NMB working. We have the shared folder and all of these things working very nice, very neat. What I'm going to do though is one last thing, and that is because I'm going to be using the command option for a lot of different commands. I don't want to have to keep coming here to retype the IP address in between. So I'm just going to copy the IP address for the server, cancel this off, and I'm going to, on the desktop, I'm just going to create a shortcut here that points to the server. So let me X this off. Right. So the location here, I'm going to right click, paste. I'm going to go next. And the name for the shortcut, I'm going to call it Samba server. I'm going to click finish. All right, and Samba server is here. I'm going to double click on it. Now it's going to let me write in to the shared folder. And again, that's because we previously typed the password, right? But once I come here and I'm going to log off. In fact, I'm going to say before I log off, let me delete one of these files here. So I'm going to remove the test, TEST, because I like the calendar. All right, .txt. Are you sure you want to remove the file? Yes. All right, ls. So we only have calendar.txt here. Let me come back to Windows. Let me log off. I'm only logging off because I want to show you that when I double click on the shortcut, they will ask me for the passcode. All right, or password, passcode. So let's come here. Let's log out. All right, so sign out. So we should be closing off all the connections. So that password will only stay temporarily while we're logged on. From the time we log out, we restart or sleep. Well, sleep as well. The password should prompt us for the password. All right, so let's log back in. 222. Right, so we are logging back in. So a shortcut will be on the desktop, but they should prompt us to enter that password into the Samba server. So let's hold on a little bit there. All right, let's wait a little bit, let things settle a second or two. All right, so let's get back into the Samba server. So just 1 second. It's moving very, very slow. All right, nice. So let's double click on the Samba server. 1, 2. The window should come up and they should ask us immediately for a password. There we go. All right, so Steve, I'll enter the wrong password. 1, 2, 3. It comes back up. And then let's enter the correct password for Steve. So give it a second. Again, it's moving a little slow, a little glitchy. So PASSWORD 1, 2, 3, enter. This gives us access to our shared folders. And let's go into Steve, where we should only see one file, and that's calendar because we deleted the test text file. What I will do when I submit this, because I know the firewall file was a bit long, because over 20 commands for the firewall. So what I will do is when I am submitting this video, I will also share with the submission. I will send this password text file, the same password, the firewall text file. All right, I made a little note at the bottom as well for you to reload the firewall after you've completed it. And this brings me to the end of my presentation for Samba SMB. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.